Well, hello, y'all. It's been a little while. I have no internet. I'm running straight from the cell phone because I have no internet. I'm pretty sure I am somewhat pixelated for you guys, but that's okay. We're here, and I hope everybody is doing well. I don't know how well this is doing because I got hot spotted to the other cell phone, so I can chat with all of you guys. So I have made it. I got to the airport in Tampa early, so I got me some chicken lo mein. Hey Melanie, nice to see you, love. Am I coming in decent? I mean, I don't expect it to be too clear, but somewhat decent. Hey Rhonda, it's nice to see you, love. Denise, hey guys, can you guys hear me and see me? I check into the hotel and the internet's down, so I'm running from my 5G right now. And it's alright. Hey Panda Bear's mom, Elizabeth, it's nice to see you. Hey guys. Oh, good. Hey Cheyenne, I'm glad you guys can see and hear me. What do you guys think about this? Did you guys hear about Hulk Hogan today? Losing his life? I about fell over. This morning, I found out that as I was walking out the door, I found out that he lost his life, and I actually researched it. And this is this is gonna scare you a little bit. Aw, thank you guys. Who else do we have? I think I said Elizabeth, Cheyenne, Deanna. It's nice to see you. Angela, Denise, Lisa Ann, Pussy Willow Pendercat. It's nice to see you. Show Poodles, thank you for that. Diana, Canadian True Crime, hello, my love. Panda Bear's mom, Melanie, it's nice to see you. I don't support, it's nice to see you, Kimberly. Pete, hey, Nicole, it's nice to see you. So as you guys know, I made it here. I got here safe. I didn't have any issues. Everything kind of went without a hitch today. I was very light. My bag, I had to squish it into the little box that they give you to make sure your carry-on is within the thing. But I know you guys didn't see this morning. I was going to go live, but to be honest with you, I was a little melancholy having to leave Delilah. And so I just spent the morning, playing with her and loving on her. And, she was watching me pack stuff up, so she kind of knew something was going on. And then she starts following you around. She starts getting really, really whimpery, because she knows something's going on. She sees the bags coming out. She's like, oh no, mommy's leaving me. And so she starts going in on the crying and the whimpering. So she's going to have a wonderful weekend. We finally get our opportunity to be heard, so I think it'll be really, really good. Hulk Hogan was a racist. I don't know. I didn't know him all like that, but everything I've ever seen, he's always been nice. I mean, you got to understand. I was going to say Lex Luger. I was going to tell you a story about Lex Luger, but Hulk Hogan, I've never heard that about. And he lives in my home state, and I've been in the, wrestling rink since I was a young child. I stopped, I think it was about 9 or 10. I kind of got away with, whatever. And we went to a wrestling. Back in those days, there wasn't a whole lot to do, okay? It wasn't like it is today. We didn't have cell phones. You had TV, you had sock hops, you had, skate nights. Do they even have skate nights anymore? But I didn't know Hulk like that. But Hulk Hogan was definitely an icon. But Lex Luger is the one, I remember I smacked Lex Luger's butt. That was my big thing. Why is it all of the good ones? I know. The very good ones. Exactly. But here's what happened. I don't know how much of this you guys looked into, but one of This guy that I follow on X, a political guy, he goes, wow, and the statement was like something like, wow, I just read what happened to Hulk Hogan. And I heard that he, when I read the first report, it was of a cardiac arrest, that he had died from a cardiac arrest in his house. And so after that statement was made, did I put my computer? No, okay. After that statement was made, I went and looked into it. I dug in and started looking into the information, what happened to him. And apparently he had cervical surgery. So if you don't know what cervical surgery is, this is your cervical, okay? You've got your cervical, your C5, your C1 through C6. You got your lumbar, and so those are your L's. And so he went in for a cervical surgery, and I'd have to assume this. The reason why I'm saying this, do I not have? Hold on, guys. Let me get some stuff set up. It looks like we might have some trolls in here. Let's just see what we got going on here. Give me just a second. So Goodwin Maine says, my adopted mama always told us people go in threes. Ozzy, Jamal, and Hawk, all in 1 week. Wow, you know what? You're right. And all three of them were iconic in one way or another. Even Jamal, I mean, he was in the Cosbys, but he also went on to do great things. He never went out of the limelight. I mean, he's had a very good career. I mean, people know him, and he's been in the spotlight since the Cosbys. So they were all iconic in their own right, and for this to happen, just it's crazy to me. All right, guys, I'm not going to put it. We do have some trolls in here. I know I see some faces that are names I'm not familiar with, so I'm going to go easy on you guys. Unless it persists. So I'm going to go, if I can get this. Okay, let it rethink it thing. I accidentally, but I don't want anybody in here because people just, they get, so we got 5 minutes. If you guys were writing and it's your first time here, we just enacted 5 minutes or longer for, I don't want my people overwhelmed. We used to go through that crap. I'll control my chat. I'll lose subscribers before I'm putting my mods through people being nasty on here. I'm over it. We handle ourselves like adults, or we don't come to the Bull Betty channel, okay? But anyways, he had cervical cancer, and when he had a very, very bad adverse reaction to something. I don't know what it was, but he went in there for the cervical surgery, and he came out not doing very well. Not doing well at all. His ex-manager says that he couldn't even hardly talk. I remember a situation happening with my father. He went in for surgery, and he had an adverse reaction to the anesthesia that was, hey Joey, it's nice to see you. That'd be great. Oh, it's nice to see you. It's been a while. Be great. Big old hugs and kisses. Big old hugs and kisses. I love the Hawk too, okay? And this was long before he got into the political ring or anything else like that. It's heartbreaking because, these are the people that we grew up, if you're my age, okay, and maybe even the age a little bit older than me. I'm turning 46 in September, so I don't know what the age of my audience is. I'm not ashamed. I wear it well. I'm just saying, I think I'm doing good. Like, if I'm looking this good going into my 50s, baby, I got it. I'm sorry. I still got, I got these little things. I still got dimples. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I don't know. But anyways, we'll get off me. We're not talking about Hawk. He was well known, in him, and who was in the, there's a lot of them now that we're looking back on it, and like Dusty Rhodes. I used to do the Dusty Rhodes where you twist the wrist and you go, wah! Right? You guys didn't even think about that, right? Betty the wrestler. I wonder if we should have a wrestler Betty. Should we have a wrestler buddy? We got a lot of Bettys, but I'm wondering if we should have a wrestler buddy. Can you imagine that? Me, me with what will we say? Saying, not playing. Can you imagine me with one like this in pink and in teal saying saying, not playing? I think I could brawl. I think I still got some of my 20s left in me. I still think I got some. We got the non-violent Betty. She's such a bleh, right? She's not as fun as the other Betty. We like the other Betty better. But easy, Tiger. Hey, Pink, it's nice to see you. Seth, I drove to Buffalo, New York last week, and I had my eye out hoping, aw, thank you, Be Great. That's so sweet. Robin, it's nice to see you. Seth, good afternoon, good evening. We're not going to be on here too long, but I did want to let you guys know I am here. I know that there's some stuff breaking off with Lilly and Jack. I to be honest with you, I don't know what the RCMP is going to do with this case. I really don't. I think the writing is on the wall. We've got, we've got deception in Malehya's case. Malehya's statement seems to be deceptive. Daniel had more statements than anybody, and it's like, there are some things I do believe Daniel was being truthful about, but overall, I still believe he knows what happened, and I do believe he's very violent. I think he's more violent than people want to acknowledge, and there's just a lot of things that are leading me to believe that. But more importantly, and one of those critical things is his own mother's statement. His own mother's statement is what pushed me over the edge to think, wait a minute, this guy, he's got something going on with him, because a mom doesn't come out there and say, if she really wanted to leave, I would stand with her and tell him, just let her go. And it's like, I don't know mothers that, I've had mothers make statements about allegations such as that, but that was a first for me in that context. Usually we hear something on the effect, she could have left anytime she wanted to. It's not like my son's going to force her to stay. Something like that. But that wasn't it. It's the way she said it that just didn't quite get me. There's always three. Malcolm, Ozzy, that's what somebody had just said, Pink Warrior. And I think somebody had said that about, what do you guys think about... I thought it was really interesting because Donald Trump kind of got into the Brian Kohberger. President Donald Trump got into the Brian Kohberger case. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but he made a statement before the sentencing, and it looked like he was basically wanting the judge or wanting his statement to be known that Brian should have allocute. He should have had to say what he did and how he did it. And they totally failed the families by not allowing him or the families to hear what happened. And it's not that he would have told the truth. I don't believe he would have told the truth. I think he would have lied. I think it would have went one of two ways. I think he would have told much of the truth, but leave it hanging. I don't think he ever intended to tell anybody what happened. I think that was the plea deal. I think the plea deal was, well, we can put this charade to bed. We've already been kicking this can down the road. We know we're going to trial. She knows she's not going to win. And maybe that was the plea deal. He's not going to say anything, because that's been his stance from the very beginning, no? Brian Kohberger, from the very beginning, after being arrested and coming back to Idaho, even when he had his arraignment, he stood in silent. He never pled guilty or not guilty. He stood in silent. And to be honest with you, I think that was probably one of the most honest decisions that he made, because let's face it, he could have lied and said not guilty. He didn't say anything. He has a right to remain silent, and he chose to remain silent. the ultimate warrior, the Aikida. Are you talking about IKEA? I'm missing what you were saying, Melanie. It didn't come across very clear. Sorry. Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was my favorite. His son Cody, Dustin are wrestlers now carrying the Rhodes name on, and Dusty was known to be the American Dream. Wow. The American Dream. Yeah. And you know, when we were at, I don't remember it, but Ann Horn. I don't know if you guys remember Ann Horn. She was battling cancer. She was running one of the Facebook groups out there in Savannah where Baby Q was. And anyways, her father was, I don't even think he had a name yet. They were the very first wrestlers. I think they were called 1, 2, and 3, actually. And they covered their entire face. They looked like those hooded goons, you know, that you see in those old movies that are carrying the stick with that spiky ball on it. And they're so they look like, but they didn't have the ball and the chain and stuff like that. But I'm describing that to you so you can get the image to understand what their uniform was, because their uniform didn't look as fit as this. It was a scary uniform. It looked like the person's like ready to tear you apart. And so it was really interesting to go back and just see some of that memorabilia, because she invited us over to her house and we got an opportunity to go in there and look at it. And I never even knew, you know, when I got into wrestling, it was because my nannies at the time, they were really into wrestling, and they took us to wrestling. That's how I know who Hawk is. That's how I know who Dusty Rhodes is. I remember, like, Dusty Rhodes, the whole twisting of the arm. You would ask my mom, like, they were ready to take my head off if I twisted another person's arm. If I twisted another person's arm. Good gracious. Is everything doing good? Hopefully everybody's doing well. Oh, I see Seth. Should I do something for... He should do something for Sebastian. That is true. That is true. And from my understanding, I think there's a lot more going on behind those scenes than maybe we know about, but I don't know. Dusty lived my grandmother's cooking and always left a front row ticket for her at the STQ Arena in Tampa. Ah, interesting. Interesting. Small world. West Side Crime Show, it's nice to see you, my love. Oh, I see Betty fan. Hey, 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 hey. When I found out Ann Horn was one, I was like, wow, she even showed me her pic of her as one. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. She's a very nice gal. She's always trying to help. And she, believe it or not, for her being her age, she can handle her own. I'm just saying, she can handle her own. She was like out there quitting Simons, boy. She was an ultra protector, like she's ready to throw down with some people. I'm not lying. Well, of course, you know we didn't, you know, but she would have been a good block for me. I was just say I like the Ultimate Warrior. Aw, thank you. That was to say I like the Ultimate. Gotcha. Now I understand. I knew there was something with that word. I knew it. Usually I can read through it. If I read it a couple times, I can, because I talk to text, and I'm always like, and I do the, when I'm doing text messages, if I'm not doing talk to text, I do the swiping thing. So sometimes my words, and I don't pay attention to it, I'm just swiping, you know, just talking with the swipes of the finger, and I don't go back and something will be misspelled. So I usually can read through it, but sometimes I can't. Hey, Crafty Chris. Hope Floats, it's nice to see you. Big Show Mom lives in, out of town. Hacksaw, Jim Dugan. Big Show Mom lives in, out town. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I don't know what that's about. Crystal Pistol, it's nice to see you. Sting was my favorite back in back in the day. Yeah. Hey Georgia, I know. Rest in peace, Ozzy. Gosh, it's been a real tragic week in kind of like Hollywood, I guess you could say. That's insanity. Absolutely insanity. We could really go conspiracy theorist on this. We really could. Like, I find it really wild that we have all these floods over here, and then now, over in China and everything else, they're getting floods. It's like, how in the world can the whole entire world flood at the same time? I don't understand that. But I guess it happens. Sorry for eating in front of you guys, but I have to eat. I've been on my plane. I've been running around getting packed since I woke up this morning. Got to get Delilah situated. Betty Casey Anthony spotted in New Hampshire. New Hampshire can have Casey Anthony. New Hampshire can have Casey Anthony. Actually, she should be in Vermont. That'd be a better. I should stop before somebody from Vermont smacks me through the phone. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for my Vermont fan. I'm so sorry. Every now and again, my political horns pop up. You gotta forgive me. I'm from Massachusetts. Well, God bless you. Seth Rogers, stepfather, file an official questionnaire with your lawyer. Protocol number. What does it say? Oh, Faye's given some advice with questions you have for LE to answer. If they don't, they are breaking the law. I never heard that. File an official questionnaire with your lawyer, taking protocol number with what questions you have for LE to answer. If they don't, they are breaking the law. Interesting. Maybe, hey, Faye, send me that law. If you can find that law or that statute, send it to me and I'll make sure it gets over wherever it needs to go. I've been watching wrestling since I was like 3 years old. I was watching wrestling when I was young, but then I kind of moved away from it. I remember the first time I got my I remember I got this little, I can't remember, I think my mom or my dad gave me money. They must have given me money. And I went to the wrestling rink. And they're not like the WWE. The stuff that we went to was like, they're like convention centers with like old, like it was not the WWE that you see on TV. That's not where I saw Lex Luger. That's not where I saw, the Hawk. That's not where I saw these people. I saw them in the dusty, the real wrestling rings. And, but I got out of it. But I got this outfit this one time, the sports bra, I think it was like 7 or 8, with the tight spandex pants, the biker pant, like what you see people riding bikes with now. They didn't wear that stuff for bikes back then. They wore that stuff to wrestling. So I remember getting mine. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a cool kid now. And I remember sucking in my gut, walking around all big and tough. Look at my muscles. I think I was 7. That was almost 40 years ago. Oh my God, I cannot believe I'm saying that. So, we have this law in Greece. I believe it happened there also. Okay, well that's interesting. We'll have to look into that. I have a ton of pics from wrestling events I went to. Back in my day, we had pictures. They were on, you remember the 110 millimeter? The long ones. Then you had so we didn't have even the photos. I don't know where all those photos are. I know we had to add photos because I remember, posing with them. These were some of the first celebrities I mingled with when I was a kid. Trust me, I was even mingling with celebrities at 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, some with Flash. It's just sad. It's sad. But you know what it brings? I think it for me, it just, this week, I mean, Ozzy, to be honest with you, I thought that poor man was going to die years ago. I've got to be honest with you. I did not think that man would live as long as he lived. I don't know what kept him going, but to be honest with you, he was good. And you know what? I think he had surgery as well. I think surgery put, if I remember correctly, I think surgery is what put Ozzy out. Because he went to have surgery to correct some of the pain he was having from the Parkinson's, and the surgery did not go well and made it even more painful for him to walk. He did have a back surgery. Yeah, he has Parkinson's, but I knew he had the surgery. Did have the surgery too. Yeah. So you've got to be careful, and I would have to think that this, like, I'm not even worried, like, the real Me Too, I'm not worried about you, because I think this has something to do with the anesthesia. I really do. And the reason why I say that is because there was an episode with my father, and I remember they kept him in the hospital a couple extra days. Whatever happened in that hospital room worried them. And I never really, I don't know if they told me and I just forgot, but he had some type of adverse effect of the anesthesia, and I'm pretty sure he stopped breathing, my dad. So I'm wondering if something like that happened, because if you go without oxygen, it can do a lot of brain damage. And if they were unaware, like the people were unaware that maybe he had cause of death for Chef and Burnell came out. Ooh, self-unaliving. I thought they thought it was OD. In my opinion, corruption at its ugliest is why nothing has happened regarding Sumner County. Just saying. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of underhanded stuff going on in that county. I think I think the whole public has seen it. If nothing more, then we've definitely exposed that aspect of the good old boys club there in full force and in reality. And Sumner County is just, they're doing this case wrong. And I think, a piece of me feels like it at first is unintentional, because I think it's funding. But when he had an opportunity to go try to pull funding, and he goes up there and stands before them to get funding for a raise for him and his friends, his top staff friends, and nobody else, not Sebastian. He wasn't thinking of Sebastian. He wasn't thinking about the people below him. He wasn't thinking about taking as much of this and spreading it out to give his guys under him as much of a raise that could spread out to do. He wanted it for himself. What a selfish, self-righteous, arrogant. Nothing. That's how I think of Eric Craddock. Sheriff Eric Craddock. Sheriff Snuggle Struggles. Very selfish. I would have been pissed if I worked under him and heard him up there fighting for himself that's been there for a fart and wants a raise. Hasn't done squat, has no accolades behind his tenure, and here he is with his hand out. He hasn't even been there, but a fart. He's literally been in office for a fart. And he got that out of pity. He wasn't even the top guy that Sonny wanted. So, and I've looked into it. Something happened. He was the lieutenant sheriff, and that he was not even the first pick for that position either. My understanding is that the first pick turned it down, didn't want it. So now he's there. Sonny dies. He gets the position out of pure. I don't know. I don't know who would have hired him. I definitely wouldn't have voted for him. I looked at, even without this whole situation going on, just his record's not impressive. And I'm sorry, I want somebody impressive being the sheriff in my community. I like Rick Wells, okay? I liked his father, Charlie Wells. The fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. His father did okay here. He's doing great here, and in Manatee County. And I have utmost respect for Rick Wells. I have no respect for this man over there in Sumner County, Sheriff Snugglestruggles. For him to even put out a joke like that, being an officer, is disgusting in my opinion. And even if it was before he even got into law enforcement, why didn't he delete it when it went viral? Aw, Jen gifted a bullhorn membership. Lorraine got that. Well, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club. The insane asylum. Grab your straight jacket and your padded room. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. But she's been around a while. Thank you so much. Love all the coffee beans. We love you. I'm missing my biggest coffee bean. That's what I'm doing. And of course, I brought the carry-on, or the personal item bag, because I'm only going to be here till tomorrow. I'm flying out first thing in the morning on Saturday. And the one thing I couldn't fit, I had no room for, because I chose to bring the tripod. I had no room for it, was the Delilah pillow. And if you guys know anything about me, when I go on trips, I like to have my Delilah pillow because it helps me sleep with a lump in the bed, because I'm used to having a lump in the bed. Delilah. So Betty fan bought Delilah this dog bone pillow with her name on it. The one thing Betty fan didn't realize is she didn't buy it for Delilah, she bought it for me. Because that's my lump in the bed whenever I'm not with Delilah. So if I would have thought about it, I had those little sucky, vacuum sealed bags, but it wouldn't have worked, because how would I vacuum seal the bag to get it back home? It is what it is. I'll have to make do. They gave me 3 pillows here, so I'll have to turn one of them into the lump in the bed. I can attest to that. Yeah, the real me too can tell you. I keep my pillow. I have to sleep with my pillow. I'm like a little kid when it comes to Delilah, and she's not with me. I've got to have my lump. Sonny wasn't even cold in the ground before Sonny's wife wrote a letter putting him in the position, and on top of that, I heard that they removed from the ballot the person who ran against him. There's just some weird stuff going on. I don't know. They're trying to keep their own people in power. It's time for us to disrupt that machine. When that starts hindering a 15-year-old boy's missing person investigation, then it's time for the public to start stepping in and raising a holy hell. Because these people have got to get out of office. This is horrible. This is probably the most blatant good old boys ring I have seen in a really long time. And I know it's a culture in Tennessee, because Tennessee's slow to kind of move to 2025. They're slow to it. They like their lifestyles, but at the end of the day, they're starting to get too many people in their state where these laws are no longer working for them. They've got to be tougher, because people are taking advantage of these laws, and people are literally, a lady from Florida, listen to this, a lady from Florida was dumped in Tennessee. Like, now they're taking bodies out of states and dumping them in Tennessee. Like, this is getting ridiculous. Tennessee is just getting a bad name, and they can keep sticking their head in their sand, and they can keep coming out here and arresting all these content creators that have something to say, and you know what, it's still not going to change the stain or the stink in that county. They can do whatever the hell they want. I really don't care. But it's never going to change the stain or the stink in that county until they start getting new leadership. You're only going to get that when you guys get smarter in that community and realize your government is not working for you. They're working against you. They're power hungry and greedy. And that's not a good look. And trust me, that's going to take a lot more out of you than you think. You guys are looking at your paycheck and you're like, why isn't this covering this much? Man, costs are going up. Costs are going up, and our governments are taxing the shit out of us. Let's be honest. Everybody's in our pocket. It's time to start standing up and getting our government up out of our pockets so we can thrive. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. And that's what I've been working on for a very, very, very long time. So I just want the government off my neck, and I want them off the people's neck. Like, you know me, let's take down the IRS while we're at it, okay? I'm not going to get into the politics. We have Betty for president. Check me out on TikTok. We'll get into the political talk on TikTok. Betty for president. Let's get back to true crime. So was there any culpability? And not only that, I want to tell you guys something about Hulk Hogan. And this is so sad because I was processing this, and that's sad. And I know it's the hazard of the career that I've chosen, right? But had I gotten word that this was happening or this transport was going to be taking place, you know, my ass would have probably been there with my recorder trying to catch the image of Hulk coming out of the hospital and being transported home. You know, they did that in the dead of night to prevent anybody being able to see Hulk in the condition he was in. From what I hear, he was in a really poor condition, and it breaks my heart because I know that and I was looking back on it, and I was like, it's sad because I understand that, and I'm glad they were able to get him in the house and preserve his dignity. But he is a public person, and had I known he was been in transport, I would have been one of those looky-loos out there with my camera. And it's sad, and I feel bad, but at the end of the day, we are here for breaking news, no? And it just makes me feel bad because he is somebody I idolized, and to hear that he had to be transported in the middle of the night so he could maintain his dignity, in the condition he was in, and so that the family could preserve that for their own memory as well. And it's good because I'm glad that they chose to realize that there's people like me and there's people like mainstream media out there that would want to, film this and want to see that. And as sad as it is, it's because we're all curious and we want to see him and we want to capture that for memorial purposes and other things. I mean, this was his last ride home. So that was, a memorializing moment. And I'm still, you know me, if it's out there in the public, I'll run it. If I have the ability to get there and be there in front of it, I will. But you also know that I always appreciate that people taking the extra steps so they don't have to be caught up in that. And so I'm glad that the family saw this and made arrangements to get him down there and, again, to preserve his dignity. And work around. They didn't condemn social media or mainstream media. Why? Because it's their job to do that. But what did they do? They have an obstacle. They went over it, under it, or around it to get the job done. And that's a big kudos to Hulk's family for doing that. And it is a crazy thing, but everybody is out there when it comes to breaking news, and especially with celebrities, you're going to have a lot of attention, but I'm very thankful that he was able to get home without having the looky-loos. What can you say? When you have a job, you have to do your job. As tough as that job could be. I can tell you, if I got that, like I said, I would have been there. So it is what it is. But let's just say a prayer for him, say a prayer for his family, say a prayer for his children, even Bubba the Love Sponge. I don't know if you guys remember Bubba the Love Sponge, but him and Bubba the Love Sponge went at it. They were like BFFs. And Bubba the Love Sponge ended up taking a S-tape of the Hulk and his wife. What is that? Oh wow, I had forgot about that, Tony. Is Tony in here? I don't see that. What is that? Hold on. Did I see that right? I don't see Tony. Who's Tony? Are you talking to somebody? Okay, I thought you were saying Tony was in here. I said, I didn't think I saw him, but neighbor posted a video of Hulk being brought out of his house while they were still doing CPR. Sad. Like I said, when it's posted, I will run it. And if I had heard it, I would have been there. I mean, if I knew that the transport was going on, in all fairness, I would have been there. It is my job to cover breaking news. If I have the ability to be there front at the scene, I will. But again, I'm glad they were able to. But it's sad that the neighbor, you know, they worked so hard to not have that. But just the thought of him, somebody on his chest trying to give him CPR, trying to save his life, and I don't know. And it always is the good ones that go. It really is. It's always the good ones that go. Rest in peace. Absolutely, rest in peace. So let's move on to, I know we've got this covered. We know Jamal, and we've had a lot of loss of life this week with our celebrity camp, but we still have a lot of children missing, and several of those cases right now. We heard, I don't know if I didn't give you guys an update because I was trying to get things together, get tickets, get all the stuff, everything kind of moved really quickly there. But sorry, where was I going? My head started to go chug-a-lug. I had a little hiccup. Let me think about what I was going to say. We had that. I wanted to give you an update on Elliot Hines. We ran a story on Elliot Hines. She was the grad student, a Wisconsin grad student that disappeared. She was walking home around between 3 and 3:30 a.m. after going to a bar. And when we were trying to monitor her path of travel, we realized how extremely close she was to the Mississippi River. And I had indicated that I thought that this really did have some Riley Strain vibes. And unfortunately, a day or two later, well, be honest with you, it's more fortunate than unfortunate. It's unfortunate the circumstances and the manner in which she was found, but at least we didn't have to go for a hunt for 14 days, you know, like we did with Riley Strain. And she was found deceased. She's found in the water. That doesn't mean that she drowned. It doesn't mean there's no foul play involved. I don't see, that's why I said, you know, when I was talking, that people just, I don't want people starting to say she was snatched, because people should be able to walk down a freaking road and not worry about being snatched even at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was starting to feel that there was something more here with that water, because we, you know, it was just a year ago we were talking about Riley Strain. So she didn't make it, and her family is obviously sad but thankful that they were able to find out where she was. And I don't know if the autopsy has been released yet or not. I haven't had a chance to look, but she has been found. She is deceased. She was in the Mississippi River. Then talking about Riley Strain brings us to, we got Seth Rogers in the chat right now. His son, Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian disappeared on February 26, 2020, reported. I need to make sure we understand. He was reported missing on February 26, 2024. Many of us believe he disappeared on the 25th, give or take, but the 26th is definitely when he was reported. We have no proof of life of Sebastian, related to Sebastian, other than the proof of life that we saw at the Texas Roadhouse. From that point forward, that was literally the last time we saw Sebastian that we knew for a fact in any video, again, was the Texas Roadhouse. And that brings me to this, which reminds me, hindsight, we're going to have to move the show, because tomorrow I'm having the deposition, and then I think we're going to do it Saturday at 8. So anyways, I wanted to make sure everybody knows that we are going to be doing a show Saturday at 8 instead of Friday at 8. I need to change that. Actually, I'm going to change that now, because with this whole trip, I was making plans, and then I thought my arguments were going to be enough. They were not enough. The judge wants me here, wants me deposed. So we had to come here and get deposed. And we'll see how that all works out tomorrow. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I just want to get it, you know, I'm just kind of to the point where I'm ready just to get this stuff done and over with. Sorry, it's getting a little slow because I'm stealing Wi-Fi from my phone. If you're wondering why I'm stealing Wi-Fi from my phone, if you weren't here when I started the live, my hotel does not have internet today. I walk in, they have a sign that there's no internet, so I'm like, oh great. So, do we know when the internet's going to be back up? Do we have an idea? They're supposed to come tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So maybe I'll get lucky. I'll get up tomorrow morning, you know, I'll go, I gotta grab something to eat. I'm not going to a deposition without something to eat. I haven't had a chance to prepare for this, so I've got to try to get stuff prepared tonight. And hopefully by the time I come back tomorrow, we'll have internet. But I was actually hoping maybe we could explore a little bit of Chicago. But listen to this, I get here, and so I start, you know me, I stay a little bit out, even though the airport, like I'm an hour away from the airport where I'm at, and where I have to go, I've got to drive a half hour. And I do that for security purposes, because you guys watch me being stopped by the person I'm up here and her clan of misfits. So long story longer is I decided to check out the crime, you know, around here. And listen to this crazy story. Of course, it's Chicago. Chicago doesn't have as many crazy stories as they once did, but I was going through it. Like, you know, there was a time when you say like something or Chicago or crime or breaking news crime in Chicago, you literally had 4 or 5 pages of everything that within a 7-day period could fill up like 5 pages of that search. Well, I go there, I do a search, you know, breaking crime news, you know, Chicago, and they have something that happened a day or 2 ago. And I'm like, okay. And I start reading this, and I'm like, well, it's crazy. But the good news is the one before that was like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, okay, so it seems like they're getting a little, you know, it's clearing up a little here, you know? And so I'm looking at this case, and I'm like, okay, well, what case is this? And it's Aramark employees that I guess are like lease agents to like this hospital or outpatient service. Somebody got fired. He brings a gun back to the work. They detain him. He's in possession of a firearm in an outpatient medical facility, and these knuckleheads let this yahoo go. Right? They let this yahoo go. Like, just let him go. What? Well, guess what he did? He went and got a friend and got more guns. And they decided to go and find some employees of this outpatient center and decided to shoot them instead. Good old Chicago. Good old Chicago. I'm sorry, you walking in threatening somebody at an outpatient with a pew-pew in Florida without good cause, or being in fear for your safety or your life? Got your travel documents with you, Betty? They didn't request any documents. I'm going to get prepared. I'm going to read through some documents. I couldn't bring the Apple computer. I only have the little computer because this is lighter and it's smaller, can fit in the bag, and I can carry it on the freaking thing. So I have no access to my iCloud. That's why I hate Apple products. When you're on the road or you need something lighter or different, or you need just to use whatever you can use, if you have Apple stuff and you have it stored on your Apple and you don't have an Apple product, guess what? You're screwed. So I've got to use the Apple phone, download the stuff, send it to my Gmail just to be able to review it on the handy dandy computer. That's why I hate Apple. Now, had this been the opposite, and this happens to be a Samsung phone instead of an Apple phone, then these two things right here would work perfectly together. And guess what? If I decided to pick up an Apple phone, I could have logged into my Google and got all of my flippin' documents from an Apple phone, from an Android phone, from a freaking satellite phone. That's why I hate Apple. But we got invested in Apple, so now we have to divest, which is, that means like my whole entire life is now Apple worthy. And so now we have to un-Apple me, okay? And I don't have time to un-Apple me right now. I'm trying to un-StreamYard me. The cool guy, he passed away. Aww. What happened to Hawk? Yeah, he passed away today. He lost his life. I was reading about it. We were talking. Well, what had happened is I had read something that he had a cardiac arrest in his home and he lost his life. And that really wasn't the whole story. The whole story is he had recently had cervical surgery. So when I heard cervical, I'm thinking neck surgery. That's what it's telling me, cervical surgery. As you can see, this big old scar right here, right there. See that? Dips in and everything. You can even see some of the stitches. That right there is cervical scar. I've had cervical surgery. I've had a discectomy and fusion on my C5 and C6. My cervical vertebrae 5 and cervic vertebrae 6. And they put them. They gave me a discectomy infusion, okay? It's a plate. I got a little plate like that right back there. So there's two of my vertebrates are now, instead of them independently moving together, they're fused together. So it's all one. So that vertebrate no longer moves. It's fused. So it stays positioned like this. That's why I have neck problems and neck pain. And I have scar tissue back here, which is what causes the shoulder. Remember I tell you I always have these the cramps in my shoulders and stuff like that. That's from the scar tissue. But I don't have money to get the scar tissue taken away. And quite frankly, if I have money to do anything, I'm probably going to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be surgery. But Hawk passed away. He had a cervical surgery, and he didn't do well in the surgery. He had a very, very, very bad reaction. A bad reaction where when he came out, they were very concerned about him. And I know what kind of concern they're talking about, because when Pop went in for the heart operation, this is what I'll tell you guys. And I don't know how he had a cervical surgery, if he had it in an OR or if he had it in a surgical center. This is what I'm going to say. You take it for what you will. My best friend's, which he was like a second father to me and a best friend to me, Pop. He went in for heart surgery. They were putting a stent in his heart. And he did it in a surgical center versus an OR. Many people don't know the difference. There's a huge difference. And you know what that huge difference comes down to? The cleanliness of that room. A surgical center's cleanliness is much lower. Their threshold with the state is much lower than an OR. And what happened with Pop is he went in there and he got a fungal infection. They're thinking it's a viral infection and they're treating it and they're pumping him with all these steroids. And he's got a fungal infection, and those steroids just incubated a hole into his chest, a necrotic hole into his chest. He was completely alive, but would never, ever, ever survive that. They could not fix that. It was only a matter of time before he was going to expire, and it's because he got a fungal infection inside of an OR, or excuse me, a surgical center. Had he had that same surgery in an OR, that OR would have been required to be fully sterile. He would have never gotten a fungal infection in an OR. So clearly, Hulk did not do well. Is this because of an infection, or is this truly an adverse reaction to some type of medication that he didn't know? I mean, I have to think that he's had surgery before, that he's been under anesthesia before. What happened? Was there, and I don't trust doctors, because doctors, like law enforcement, when they get kind of pinned up, and not to be disrespectful to law enforcement, but I've seen it before, they do not like taking accountability, they do not like coming and saying they make mistakes, they just don't like doing it, even though they make lots of mistakes. And I think the people out there in the public are very understanding that people are human, and at least I am, you know. I don't get angry at the mistake. I mean, if it hurts somebody, yeah, of course we're going to get a little upset, and maybe that would turn to anger. But somebody making a mistake is not the problem for me. For me, it's somebody making a mistake and trying to hide that mistake that's more problematic to me than the mistake itself. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm a very understanding person, and I believe that everybody makes mistakes. Therefore, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I made this huge mistake, it's like, okay, well, let's sit down and figure out how bad the mistake is. But it's the accountability. And when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to doctors, and it's not, in all fairness, it's not their fault either. They have to protect themselves. I keep saying law enforcement, but surgical professionals, doctors and stuff like that, their malpractice, especially here in Florida, because we are a sue happy state, has jacked their insurance rates through the roof. Because, again, it's because of malpractice. You make one little incision wrong or too long. It's crazy what people can and will sue you for. But when serious stuff like this happen, you know, they're going to try to cover their ass. They're going to not be forthcoming with a lot of information. And the reason why I'm saying this is because what if it really wasn't the surgery that they had the adverse effect? What if it was something the anesthesiologist did wrong, or something the doctor did wrong, that resulted in this outcome? And they're going to try their very hardest to cover it up, because they can't come and say, yeah, I made a mistake and this is the result of it, without being sued. So now they've got to take other, avenues, because doctors are not allowed to make mistakes, even though they're human, and they're going to make mistakes. Things happen. I don't know what happened with this particular thing. I just know that I have never heard of anybody having a surgical surgery and it having lethal impacts. I know that we all sign away when we go and have surgery. Believe it or not, every time you go under the knife, every time you go into anesthesia, you may not walk out of that. You are taking a risk. Each and every time you go under anesthesia, you are taking a risk. You are hoping to God that you're going to do this to make your life better. But there are many things that people don't know. Bodies are different. Something might work for one person, might have horrible results for another person. I don't know what happened to Hulk. I don't know. I didn't even know he had cervical surgery. I didn't even know he had surgery. I thought he was just in his house and just, fell over with a heart attack. So, it's just sad. It's really, really, really sad. Yes, saw your first comment. We never said it wasn't successful. I'm not sure what the comment was about. They just had a huge study on the Amish regarding all of this. Wow. This is freaking me out. I have ending vein surgery. I would still go through surgery. There are complications. I think the older you get, the more you have to start being, asking questions, because your body starts aging. Things that you were able to do, you can't do anymore. Your body's not as strong as it once was. It's him not being able to talk. And when I was reading this, what his ex-manager said, which is still a very good friend of his, was talking about how bad he looked coming home. And then Gavin to come bring him home in the middle of the night. And it seemed like they knew they were preparing for his, like, he came home in a hospital bed. he wasn't going home to, go to sleep in his bed. He had to stay in a hospital bed. He just basically brought the hospital home with him, and he was hoping to get that they would be able to bring doctors and everybody there and keep him stable. He was stable, just let him recover and try to work through whatever adverse effect he had from the surgery. But the problem is he ended up having a cardiac arrest, and that was it. Almost unalive at 13 with anesthesia. Yeah, anesthesia, you gotta remember, when you go under anesthesia, you're basically being put into a coma. Okay? And they have to gently take you out of that. If they do something putting you under or doing something wrong taking you out, it could have some major problems. But it's his heart, and the reason why I'm focusing on the anesthesia is because I do have an experience, and again, it was with my father. He had an adverse effect with anesthesia. This was not his first surgery either, but for whatever reason, that particular surgery gave him an adverse reaction. But we didn't lose my dad. They just put him on IV fluid, and they had to cath him and get him going again. But he was a rough recovery. It scared the crap out of my father. I think my father died on the table, but they was able to resuscitate him. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, and then getting back to Sebastian, we don't know when he disappeared, but he's missing. We've got Layla Santanello. We got Holland Stapp, Summer Wells. That's just all in Tennessee. And then we had that lady, I think she was from the Orlando area, and her kids were reported her missing, and she was wound up in a field somewhere in Tennessee, 600 miles away from where she disappeared from. So now we got people driving bodies to Tennessee to dump. I don't know. Tennessee needs help. They just need help. And I just wish they quit living like ostriches with their head in the sand and realize they need a lot of work. And these corrupt counties have got to be put on notice. No more. No more. This is one of many in Tennessee. I can tell you that. This is one of many. And it's not just Tennessee. I don't want to give an illusion that Tennessee is the only one that's playing these stupid games. They're not. They're one of many states that play these stupid games. Is she in Chicago? Or yeah, I'm here. I'm in Illinois. I don't know really where I'm at, but I know I'm not in Chicago because I drove too far away from the airport. But I don't know which direction because I plugged it into the GPS and it just takes me. All I do is when I'm home, I look on a map, I see my area, I say, okay, in this big wide area, I think I'm going to check this area, and this area, And so I check the prices all the way around on the outskirts, and that's where I reside. So anyways, I need to take a shower. I need to take a nap. I need to go get me something to drink. I got no water in here. And then I need to start getting prepared for tomorrow. Now that you guys know, tomorrow I'm going to have the deposition. I think we're going to be probably starting around 9 or 9:30. I should be done with it by 12 or 12:30. And then we'll be, or before, I don't know what they're planning on asking me, but it seems like they got a lot of stuff they want to talk to me about. Then I'm thinking like around 1-ish, we'll come back here and I'll go live and let you guys know how it went. And then I'll figure out if I want to go out, depending on how exhausted I am, because trust me, flying, it knocks everything out of you. It just does. So, but I definitely need to lay down and just take maybe an hour nap, a power nap or something like that, just to relax and unwind. Maybe I'll do that and then I'll get up and get a shower. Once I get a shower, I'll feel refreshed, and then I'll start getting prepared for the deposition tomorrow. I've got to go over some documents, but it is what it is, So I'm going to go in there and be as truthful as possible. We're going to have our peace and let the chips fall wherever the hell the chips are gonna fall, and let's start getting moving. I just wish they quit fighting me over the discovery, so I can get my deposition scheduled for Rebecca and get going on that. But I am not doing it without my discovery. So if they want to hurry this along and get this process going through it, they need to hand over the damn documents. And she's withholding the crap. All those things that she was when she was back in June, July, October, almost all the way to December, where she was admitting to all this stuff. Well, she put those in members only. Well, the judge granted me access to those. And she said that she sent them all to me, and she did not, because we have 25 of those logged that we do not have access to. 25. I received 6. So somebody gonna be in trouble. Just saying, not playing. So we'll get that rolled out once we get home, and then of course I've got subpoenas that need to go out as well that need to be redone. So we'll get that all when we get all that done. You should have all the proof, right? They didn't ask for me to bring none, so they should have all the proof. They're questioning me. Hopefully they got their shit together, but I don't know what they've got. We'll find out tomorrow. But it's either one of two things. They've got stuff that they've acquired from other people that have sent it to them, much like I did. I anticipate some, because we're dealing with that whole outfit of misfits, so I don't know. They said they had some documents, so I guess I'll see when I see them, but I hope they're not planning on bringing any manufactured crap with them, because if they are, that's going to be we're going to have some problems there. You know what we're dealing with. Just saying. Alright guys, rocking out your coffee beans out. I've got to go get a shower. I need to get this mop on my head washed, all of this. It pulled back all day, so now my hair is just completely utterly flat, but whatever. Main Mama 3. Hey, Main Mama 3. It's nice to see you. Lisa Renish, it's nice to see you. Hindsight. Pete, it's nice to see you. Thank you, guys. Well, there's not really luck. I mean, they're going to ask questions. I'll just tell you guys, like I tell anybody, you're there, be honest. Don't lie. Because if a judge finds out you're lying, it's never good. Never good. Never good. I know one person that does lie, which will piss the judge off. So I'm just going to let this stuff roll right on through. All right, guys, you rock it out with your coffee beans out. Know that I'm here. I'm working. And we'll be back Saturday. I'm probably going to go hang out with my best friend on Saturday when I get back, when I pick up Delilah, just for a little bit, and then we'll be back early. I'll let you guys know what's what. So, all right, guys. See you later. See you soon. And if anybody is in the Chicago area, reach out to me, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, or in the, outer perimeters, but that's kind of where it is. But if you guys are in Chicago and you would like to meet me or have lunch or go grab a cup of coffee or something like that, just let me know. bullhornbetty@gmail.com. bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I will see you guys soon. Keeping awesome, my beautiful beans.